Good day, mates. My name is Mordecai, and welcome back to the show, where an aspiring roleplayer narrates various RPG-related stories as a learning tool. I am speaking through my familiar Aquata for this narration. When it comes to running the game for a table, there are a wide variety of tabletop role-playing systems that can suit a variety of situations. Dungeons and Dragons, GLOG, Blades in the Dark, Pathfinder, and so on. This diversity can lend itself towards having a ready-made system that is fit for the purpose of your particular game, and there is a lot of fun to be had by also attempting to make your own system for the campaign. It is also fairly common for a new Dungeon Master to seek out solid advice when they decide to take up the mantle, and sometimes a new Dungeon Master will also speak about their experiences with fellow Dungeon Masters, sometimes with the intention of getting a second opinion on a particular aspect of play, and other times to convey stories of awesome plays that happened at their table. However, sometimes in doing so, you can have an encounter with a gatekeeper. A gatekeeper is a term used to refer to an individual who bullies and belittles other players or dungeon masters into maintaining their vision of how the game should be played, usually at the cost of the actual game. So what does the gatekeeper in today's story do to promote an all-around bad time? Let us find out as we embark on another delve. Before we begin with today's story, if you like my content and want to see more, feel free to subscribe and like the video. It's free to do, and every bit of support is highly appreciated. Plus, you can always change your mind at a later date. Let's delve into the often terrifying world of r/RPG horror stories. Today's narrative is titled, "You Know Something is Serious When Someone Pulls Out Their Gaming Credentials," and is written by user MVQF. This is going to be more on the absurd side rather than the horror, but here we go. I'm a part of a huge Discord server that is all about tabletop role-playing games. A sort of HUD-defined games of sorts. It's so big that it's not uncommon for ads for campaigns there to be filled within an hour or so. However, there is a slight problem with this Discord server, as the mods there have the tendency of being jerks just simply because they can. This is where the person who I am referring to at the title comes from. Let's call her Tamara, which is obviously a fake name. I am starting to dip my feet in the Dungeon Master's shoes after years of being a player. It's a bit harder than it appeared to be at first, but I have fantastic players that, even if I screw up the intricacies of the hobby such as combat and balancing issues, they more than enjoy the campaigns that I run. Heck, one of them even writes a diary in character. It's their fancy way of keeping notes, and also providing some memes in regards to what happens in the story. However, one of these slip-ups happened when I made an enemy encounter at sea. I accidentally spawned in far too many enemies at a time, and noticed the turns would take forever to roll. So, on a spur of the moment, I decided to spawn in a huge sea creature to scare some of the enemies away. At the top of my head, I spawned a Kraken. The party's objective was to keep the Kraken at bay by any means necessary until they've reached shallow waters a few miles/turns from where they were. Now, when I told this tale to the server, as, people usually do, I described as one player was slapped off a deck into the ocean by one of its attacks as collateral damage. And Tamara then proceeded to ask, "Please tell me you killed the character." No. "And you're garbage as a dungeon master." She then proceeded to list a number of reasons as to why this whole situation should have been a total party wipeout, and that I did the encounter wrong because of the Kraken's divine status, and that its intelligence is higher than the whole party combined, so I shouldn't be playing it as an irrational animal, etc., etc. Even when I said the setting of my campaign has different rules and that my games are of a more casual and character-driven nature, she doubled down and added later, "It's thanks to stupid dungeon masters like you that we, the not stupid dungeon masters, get stupid players at our tables. who think they can take on a Tarrasque or an ancient dragon at level 1, or can't even roll HP gains for every level up. And a whole bunch of nonsense I can't be bothered to remember because it's mostly irrelevant. This was where it would be left, but the thing about one of my campaigns is that I'm doing a system of my own based off of the Fire Emblem series. It's honestly a bit of a hot mess, but hey, my players are having fun with it and the story so far. However, due to it being a homebrew system, it is open to all sorts of exploits, and in this campaign, I'm dealing with a min-maxer for the first time. The player is great, but part of me fears that due to him stomping a lot of rolls, that it may intimidate the players, and I went to ask the dungeon masters, and their solutions on how they could deal with this. While I received some rather nice tips, like using situations where his minimum was key to the success or having a specific type of enemy suited for him, alongside systems that better accommodate my vision for the campaign, Tamara wasn't so helpful. Here are the highlights of her responses when I presented my problems. You don't do a living world, then no wonder you're having this sort of problem. Without telling me how to better do this living world. Who told you to make your own system? You deserve everything bad happening to your table. The only thing moderation there hates more than handmade systems is apparently Autumn Paranormal. Again, it's thanks to stupid dungeon masters like you that we have to deal with stupid players. After that, I kind of snapped and told her to shove it, because I play my games to have fun, to help others have fun, and that she was taking tabletop role-playing far too seriously. After that, the unexpected occurred. She, no joke, pulled off her gaming credentials to justify why she takes it seriously. Like her participating in giving 50 speeches when it comes to tabletop role-playing, she having studied tabletop design, being a professional narrator and cartographer, etc, etc. I just said that this still doesn't justify her taking this too seriously and act like her way of playing is the right way to play it. And that was when the second response arrived. Yes, dear, I take it seriously because this is my job, and I have a reputation to live up to. Only for me to see stupid and retarded people like you to remind me that this generation is making tabletop role-playing worse by the day! Everything that is consumed is garbage! Everything that is created is garbage! And then people like you come thinking I don't have fun with something serious! There's no more autistic, retarded, and out-of-touch argument than RPGs are meant to be fun, when your group kills dragons like goblins, and the players think that this is normal, and impose that on other games. Playing zoos instead of actual deep characters, and a bunch of wannabe anime heroes. I take it seriously because I want the Brazilian tabletop role-playing scenario to grow, and not go down the drain with... Oh no. That term is a broad insult to everyone? Okay. Ahem. And not go down with the riffraff of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, Jumbo the RPG system publisher, and Selbit, the guy who created Autumn Paranormal and has a YouTube channel. It is worth noting that I have autism. Everyone on the server, including Tabara, knows that I have autism. So she was using retarded and autistic as deliberate offenses to my argument, entirely on purpose. After this whole manifesto dump and her fuming at me, I decided to take a step back and leave it at that. I didn't want to risk getting a ban and not being able to play my future Fist of the North Star and other campaigns with fellow Brazilians. I'm already kind of not really interacting there, mostly just posting some stuff from time to time to avoid being banned for being a ghost member. I don't know how to end this tale other than that I am a firm believer of the saying I once heard. The only bad way to play Dungeons & Dragons and other tabletop role-playing games is when the players and the Dungeon Master aren't having fun. So have fun in your games, folks. In summary, a veteran DM brings her gaming credentials as a Dungeon Master and has a meltdown over me Dungeon Mastering in a more casual manner, and that I'm part of what's ruining tabletop role-playing games. And that's where the story ends. Before I dive into my thoughts on the considerations from the story, I want to be clear that regardless of what I say, I don't intend any offense towards anyone involved with the story. That said, what Tamara is doing here is a rather distinct form of gatekeeping, bullying and belittling the original poster. An original poster who has not only taken up the mantle of being a Dungeon Master, but is even being responsible by ensuring that their players are having fun at the table, and also going out of their way to create a brand new system. I do find it pretty hilarious that Tamara pulled out her gaming credentials as a way to try to somehow invalidate the poster's main considerations without making any actual points. However, her own credentials presented show that she has never attempted to design a system from the ground up, and more importantly, has seemingly never been the Dungeon Master for a campaign, whether that's a one-shot or one that has been ran all the way through to completion. Hum Dila hum. Gee, that seems awfully convenient. I have to wonder if this moderator is even a veteran Dungeon Master, or if the original poster was just being complimentary for the sake of being complimentary. If anything, the event here that has the most potential to ruin the tabletop role-playing scene anywhere is having a community full of people like Tamara. You know, people who post poorly considered arguments that come across as though they were the manifesto of the murderer in a badly written movie. And having this argument on a big public Discord server, whilst also broadly slandering people who play Dungeons & Dragons as a core argument. Because most people who see a community where a moderator is allowed to freely insult others without repercussions, they will be inclined to walk away. And those people will then be inclined to tell other people, oh hey, this is what this scene is like. You better stay away from it, because there's only bad people that go around insulting other people. The irony is pretty thick here. I know 5th edition is not perfect, but it also does not need to be in order to be accessible to the masses. I can only hope that the other moderators on the server have since pulled Tamara back into line. Funnily enough, I was editing together the video for this narration when I checked the story on the subreddit. There is a small update on the situation, so let's resume the narration with the update. Update. So I'm adding this edit for a small update. So thanks for some encouragement from here. I reported Tamara to the ADM of the server. Let's call him Trevor, another fake name, because of obvious reasons. So the server has a dedicated reporting channel, and I showed the screenshots of the offences in question. His response was essentially, with all due respect, it's complicated to send a I have autism, so you can't say the use of autistic as an offense. Other than that, we can see that she has gone over the line, but just the prints of her offense doesn't show the full context. Well, it's up to her to defend herself, and if further prints showing her innocence are shown, I'll remove the warning. Ignoring the fact that Trevor downplayed and dismissed the use of autistic as a direct offense to me, he at least did indeed give Tamara a warning that may progress further into a ban. So how exactly did Tamara respond? As I said, presumably in Trevor's DMs, this happened a while ago, but I don't recall the full context. That was omitted to me over several screenshots because it's most convenient to him, because it didn't occur today, or in this server. For context, this server is the second version of itself. The original was mysteriously set to deletion, and everyone was asked to migrate to a new server. Due to that, I have nothing to say at the moment. Well, little did they both know that I had the full conversation of the given discussions. I only put the direct offences on my report because of the Discord image send limitations. I showed all of the context to Trevor in his direct messages, so there was no way for him to not undo the warning and do a light scolding of not being up to him to decide what's offensive or not to people on the spectrum. And I would have also shown Tamara the full context and called for her to take accountability for her offences if she didn't block me. Well, I'll take that as a W, thank you very much. And after my report, a few members came to my direct messages to either thank or congratulate me to take a stance against Tamara, so I have the feeling that she might receive some extra warning in the future. To end this once and for all, thanks everyone for the support and encouragement, and thanks for D&D Doge in advance for covering the story. You rock, dude. And that's where the story really ends. Yeah, so, I know I'm late to the party. It is unfortunate, but that's what can happen sometimes. However, it is also rather unfortunate that what I originally suspected to be true about the particular Discord server and its moderation is effectively true. I can understand that hearing that your fellow moderator has been acting in a manner that is counteractive to what the purpose of moderation is meant to be. Just because an event a person was responsible for happened a while ago does not mitigate how important it is for said person to take responsibility and be accountable for having undertaken said bad actions. I can only hope that the original poster is not banned from the server altogether for everything that has happened, especially since I now suspect there to be some sort of moderation team-wide gatekeeping to be active on the server. And so, with that, let's talk about some of the more positive elements. I do not believe that the importance of having fun at the table can be stressed enough. You have to have players in order for those players to be having fun. And if the players are having fun, they will keep on attending the sessions and thus keep the fun rolling. And if your players find it more fun to have their characters defy the odds and continue surviving, or if they prefer a game that has a bit more lethality to it, then that still counts as fun for the particular table. What the original poster said at the end of the story is correct. The only wrong way to have a game ran is for the players and the Dungeon Master to not be having fun. I will say that coming up with a new system is filled with potential risks, especially with regards to system exploits that can be abused by power gamers. A consideration for this is using a player that is determined to break your system present during the system's stress tests, which is why having a min-maxer at the table during the early stages of developing the new system is actually a good idea, since they can help highlight exploits that need to be fixed. A min-maxer, for those who don't know, can be broadly defined as a player who creates and plays optimal characters, usually by lowering certain attribute scores to have their primary ability scores raised as high as possible, which is part of the consideration for why having one around during playtesting is a good idea, especially when you are stress testing your new system. All in all, these are the considerations I walk away from the story with. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed my content and would like to see more, feel free to subscribe and give the video a like. It's free to do, and every bit of support is highly appreciated. Plus, you can always change your mind at a later date. Thank you again for watching, and I shall see you all next time.